This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome back to Live Talk with Dr. B. Welcome to the show. And if you would like to chat with us today, there's a little chat button up in the right upper hand corner of the screen. So today, our esteemed guest returned, Dr. Smith, and we also have Travis with us today. So, Dr. B.
Yes. Good morning, and or should I say afternoon, since it's already 12:30. Thank you so much for that nice interview type opening. I want to go ahead and say thank you very much, Travis, for attending, and of course, Dr. Smith. We always are very pleased that you're here.
You're
All
welcome,
right,
Mr.
going
B.
to I'm going to leave and let you go.
Thank you, Dr. B, and thank you, Travis. How are you today?
Doing good, Dr. Doug. How you doing?
Always a pleasure. And Travis, I can honestly say I genuinely and truly look forward to our discussions, and I am very hopeful that these discussions are going to open some people's eyes and eventually create a pathway by which hundreds of thousands of people can begin to move out of the uh, uh, where they are right now, drinking the Kool-Aid of opioid addiction, and to move into the truth of what's actually going on. And Travis, if it's okay with you today, um, we only have about 25 minutes, and
Okay.
I spent a long time last night thinking about what I wanted to say today, and I put a lot of time and thought into our discussions, Travis. And what I wanted to do today was raise one question and then do our best to try and answer that one question, and also go through a series of slides which support our position. And the question is, why get treated? Why get on buprenorphine? Why should people get treated? And Travis, I thought in order to answer that question, we would start by going through the DNA slides, back through the autonomic dysfunction slides. And Travis, I want to go all the way through the process and get to your second blood draw. And that's something that we've never talked about before, Travis, is your second blood draw. Now for our viewers and listeners, let me walk you through this. Travis was an amazingly brave individual that stepped forward and volunteered to be in our clinical trial. This meant that Travis stopped all opioids. He stopped his medication, and on day 3, deep into withdrawal, Travis came into the clinic and had his blood drawn, was given a single dose of buprenorphine, and had his blood drawn again. And we also did a DNA sample. So what you see on the screen before you, Travis, we've gone over this before, but let's
Okay.
go over for people who may be new with us. You see the results of your DNA test, and Travis, to point out, if I'm not mistaken, you are number 7031. 8.039.5. Now, those numbers may not mean much to you, Travis. Uh, they're just numbers. But, Travis, as you can see, those numbers are bigger than the ones in green in the top 5 people. The top 5 people are people who have never taken opioids in their life. They are the opioid naive. And, Travis, you can see how your numbers are bigger than their numbers, correct?
Yes, I can.
But you got to agree they're not bigger by a huge amount, just a little bit.
Right.
So if we're saying that this is DNA poisoning, and what we're actually measuring here is the level of methylation, how can such a small amount of methylation result in such dramatic differences that the people have experienced, such as yourself, Travis, have experienced when you attempt to stop taking the opioids, when you attempt opioid abstinence? So let's jump ahead to the next slide. And what we're looking at here, Travis, thank you, Chrissy, thank you. What we're looking at here, Travis, is the actual gene that makes the opioid receptor. We call it the OPRM1, opioid receptor mu1. Um, and you see the red and the red and blue columns at the bottom of the gene down at the bottom there. You see that, right? And Travis, we have discussed previously how everywhere where the red is bigger than the blue, that area of the DNA got turned off. Okay, right?
Right. Yes, sir.
And Travis, that you've got a pretty good understanding of that the pharmaceutical companies pushed out a toxic product. You trusted the healthcare industry. You trusted your providers. You felt, and you have said before, that if the providers, if there was any risk of taking this medication, that they would have warned you of that. In fact, they did warn you about a number of things, but they never warned you about the methylation, the damage to the DNA. Travis, if they had warned you about the methylation, the damage to the DNA, would you have taken the opioids?
No, sir, I would have never taken the opioids. I would have
Now,
figured out something else to do other than that.
in medicine, that's called uh, giving someone a informed consent. That's where here's this medicine, here's what this medicine could do for you, here's what this medicine could also do to you negatively. That's called informed consent. So you were never given informed consent, were you, Travis?
No, sir, I was not.
That's not exactly fair, is it?
No, it's not.
No. Travis, is it safe to say that your DNA, your body was changed without your knowledge, permission, or consent?
That is very valid, very accurate.
And it's safe to say that your DNA has been permanently changed.
Yes, that's also accurate.
And Travis, we've spoken before that when people reach a realization that their body has been permanently changed by the pharmaceutical industry and without their permission, knowledge, or consent, people feel angry.
Yes.
And you have described that anger to us, and that's very understandable. Um, Now, Travis, this damage to the DNA, if we can jump ahead to the next slide, it doesn't just sit there. It does things to your body. And Travis, when you attempted to stop taking the opioids, you actually lost control of your internal organs. You lost control of your sweat glands. You lost control of your bowels. You lost control of the rate of your heart. And you went into what people call opioid withdrawal. Travis, what did that feel like?
It felt like I was dying pretty much. I mean, I honestly wanted to die than go through that any longer.
We had you answer some questions while you were in that state of withdrawal, Travis, and I want to spend some time going through those questions, but we don't quite have time to do that today. But you see on the screen before you there, Travis, you see a slide that shows the part of the nervous system that controls your organ and organ functions. It's known as the autonomic nervous system. There's two branches, parasympathetic and sympathetic. Parasympathetic is known as the rest and digest. Sympathetic is known as the fight or flight. And normally one or the other of these two systems is in control. And the evidently the opioid receptor has a major role in regulating that process. So if we could move forward to the next slide, and Travis, again, what we've said is if you lose control of your sweat glands, that's uncomfortable. If you lose control of your bowels, that's distressing. Travis, I'm here to tell you that if you lose control of your adrenal gland, that small almond-shaped gland that sits on top of your kidneys, there's enough adrenaline in your body to kill you. Okay, and so Travis, what you did was you came in on day number 3 of withdrawal, and we drew your blood, and those are the results that are on the screen in front of you. And Travis, you have allowed us to permission to share your results with everybody. And you are participant number 700, and right there in front of you, Travis, you see your results, and you see that of the 3 adrenalines, okay, what we call catecholamines, of the 3 adrenalines, norepinephrine, epinephrine, and dopamine, of the 3, 2 of yours are elevated, the epinephrine and the dopamine, right there at number 700. If the viewer needs to stop the video, zero in on 700, look for the gray areas. The areas in gray are abnormal. The areas in gray are elevated. The areas in white are normal. So you don't need to know what normal is. You just got to be able to see which ones are gray. So Travis, you see that your adrenalines were elevated there, right?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. Now, what's the big deal about that? What's the danger of elevated catecholamines? And if we can jump ahead to the next slide, this is a study done by Dr. Liu and his team. And what Dr. Liu did in this study was to take a couple of the adrenalines, specifically he took norepinephrine and epinephrine, and gave them to mice and basically what Dr. Liu was looking at was two things. Number one, to see how long the mice lived. Okay. And number two, they also did autopsies after the mice died to see exactly what the mice died from. All the mice died of heart attacks and heart failure. But Travis, you see there, you see four lines. The one on top is sugar water, salt water. The second one down is epinephrine. The third one down is norepinephrine. The fourth one down, the one that's making the big dive for the bottom there, the one where the rats are dying really fast. In fact, at about 6 hours, half the rats are already dead. Uh, uh, that's a combination of norepinephrine and epinephrine. So it says to us that when you start combining multiple catecholamines, actually leave that slide right there, Chrissy. We're coming to that one next. When you start combining multiple catecholamines together, it's a deadly situation. And Travis, you had two of your catecholamines elevated. Travis, you were in a position where you could have died. How does that feel that you've just looked at the DNA evidence, you've looked at the physiology of the autonomic nervous system, you understand your body lost control of your adrenal gland, and you understand you were in a position where you could have died?
The only reason I didn't die is because my body ran out of adrenaline.
That's what we believe, yes.
I just want to add that. But how do I feel? I'm very angry. I'm very ticked off. I can't believe that they would do this. This is human life you're talking about. We're not lab mice, and we're not just something that I just don't get how they were allowed to put this out into population. It should have had the proper testing done. These are people's lives you're talking about. This is my life you're talking about. I'm at a very high risk to die of a heart attack or cardiac arrest, and it's a very horrible feeling. Between being angry and scared is all I can tell you. Angry and scared. I mean, it's
Travis, we hope that by getting people to have their DNA tested and then join the class action lawsuit, we hope that we can speed up the process to learning how best to help these people. There's got to be some things that we can do to help the people whose DNA has been damaged. But Travis, you see on the screen right in front of you right there, this is the data from the American Heart Association, and you see that in the time period that is in parallel with, that coincides with the opioid crisis, there at the end you see a little upward blip. Although the blip itself may look small, you're actually looking at hundreds of thousands, millions of lives of people who have died a cardiovascular death being heart attack or stroke. We believe those people have died while they were experiencing catecholamine toxicity, identical to the catecholamine toxicity that you were experiencing, Travis. When you look at that graph and you see that massive upswing in deaths, these are unnecessary deaths. These are people that died early. These were people that were taken away from their families, their spouses, their children. That represents children who were raised with one or no parents because their parent died of a catecholamine toxicity during an episode of opioid withdrawal. Travis, when you look at that line and you look at what that line means for this nation, knowing that your catecholamines were in that red zone, how do you feel about that? How does one react to that?
Me personally, I'm horrified. As I said earlier, this is human lives that we're talking about, and I don't understand how this could happen. I don't understand how the FDA would allow this to happen. I don't understand how the proper testing wasn't done. I can't fathom it. I don't comprehend how this was allowed to be put into population for human consumption. I don't agree with it. I'm angry. This cannot continue. Millions of more people are going to die. And we've got to put a stop to this. I mean, that's how I feel, Doug.
I couldn't agree more with you. People are dying, and they're dying unnecessary and premature deaths, and we've got to move forward and stop that. But Travis, let's bring this back to you. What we just did was, you were very brave and you stepped forward and volunteered for this study. We took the information that we learned in this study and we showed that we believe there is a massive epidemic of heart attacks and strokes, cardiovascular deaths that is happening right now today in this nation. Is happening in people whose DNA have been changed by exposure to the opioids. These people have been told that they were opioid addicts and that they needed counseling, inpatient, outpatient treatment. They needed treatment for addiction. They weren't told that they had DNA damage. They weren't told that they need to be treated for their DNA damage. But Travis, you were treated for you were treated for the catecholamine toxicity. You were treated for the DNA damage. After you came into the office on that day, you were given a single tablet of buprenorphine, 16 milligrams. We waited 2 hours and we drew your blood again. And if we could jump ahead to the graph that shows the blood after people had a dose of buprenorphine, let's do that. And specifically, let's look at this information for what happened to Travis. Now, Travis, you felt really badly when you came in that day, right?
Oh my gosh, yes, sir. I was very, very ill, or sick is the word that you can use. Mentally, I pretty much told my wife that I wanted to run out into traffic and die than continue to feel like this. I mean, I literally looked at her and told her that. It was that bad. I was that sick. I mean, no one can understand what it feels like unless you're going through it. It can't be explained. It's so horrific. Um, it's so terrible. You can't put it into words.
But then you took a single dose of buprenorphine, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I
And
did.
then we redrew your blood a second time, right?
Yes, yes, you did.
Travis, look on the screen in front of you. Find number 700, which is you, and tell me what
All right.
your tell me what you see there for your adrenalines, your catecholamines. You had elevated epinephrine and elevated dopamine before you took the dose of buprenorphine. Now you're
Yes.
looking at your lab results, if I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken. I'm often mistaken, but if I'm not mistaken, Travis, I think this is the first time you might have looked at this data.
Yes. Now the one that I'm looking at is still elevated. Is that the right one
No,
for 700?
that's the one. That's the one. That was from when we first drew your blood. Now
Okay.
let's pull up the slide of when of the second catecholamines there, where we had you had a dose of buprenorphine. There, thank you, Chrissy. Sorry about that. We now we've switched slides. Travis, do you see 700?
Uh, yes, I do. And everything is evened out.
Travis, you had elevated catecholamines when you came into the office. You took a single dose of buprenorphine, and what happened?
I started to feel better. Within like 20 minutes, I started to feel better.
What happened with your catecholamine levels?
They became normal, it looks like.
Travis, you came in, and we can all agree. And if we can't all agree, we will go back to the Dr. Lou rat study and look at the evidence again. We can all agree that elevated catecholamines are associated with death, correct?
Correct.
And we can all agree that, and I know this is hard to say it, I know this is hard to hear, but Travis, at that moment on that day, your life was threatened.
I felt like I was dying. Like I told you that before.
And Travis, we've talked about this before. If you died, who's going to look after your wife and kids?
No one.
Right.
I'm all they got.
Right. And Travis, you took a single dose of buprenorphine, and what happened with your catecholamines?
Everything normal. It looks like everything normalized.
Travis, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this is the most important part of this interview today. You were in a life-threatening situation. You took a single dose of buprenorphine, and you were out of that life-threatening situation. Is that true?
Yes, that's very true. Very, very true.
How do you feel about buprenorphine, and how do you feel about whether or not yourself and other people should be on buprenorphine?
Buprenorphine saved my life personally. And I feel like everybody, if you're struggling with opioids and you want your life to get better and you think there's no light at the end of the tunnel, you think you're at rock bottom, give buprenorphine a chance, and I promise you, you will never regret it. It changed my life, and I'm sure it will change your life too. That's all I can really say, Doug, because it's the truth.
It is the truth. Travis, we went through a process where we just now, in the past 22 minutes, 20 minutes, where we looked at your DNA. Okay. We believe that DNA damage causes a dysfunction within the part of the nervous system that takes care of the organs and organ systems. And then we looked at your catecholamine levels while you were in withdrawal. We then gave you a single dose of buprenorphine, and then we looked at your buprenorphine levels, your catecholamine levels after you had taken the buprenorphine and after you were out of withdrawal. Travis, we have about 5 minutes left. Okay, the stage is yours. I have no further questions to ask. Okay, you did a beautiful job of pointing out to everybody that your buprenorphine took your catecholamines from elevated and dangerous down to normal. Uh, Travis, spend a few minutes and talk to the people who may see you in this slide, and let them know how you feel about this whole process.
The process of what of me being on opioids to now.
Anything you want to tell the people. I leave the floor is yours. They want to hear from you. The floor is yours.
Well, okay, sir. The first thing I like to say, to add on what I was saying prior in the last thing we were talking about is, my life was at rock bottom. I didn't see any way out. I lost my family, my friends, my mother, my father. No one would associate with me. My wife kicked me out of the house. I wasn't allowed around my children. My boss was about to fire me. And I felt like I didn't know what I was going to do. I had completely hit rock bottom. I got on buprenorphine. It changed my life completely. On top of that, I also want to tell you that you're not a drug addict. You don't have a mental disorder. They're not telling you the truth. We have scientific proof to back it up. Get the Smith test so you can see if your DNA has been genetically changed for life, to see if your blood's been poisoned, because more than likely it has. And I promise you, if you get on buprenorphine, you will never regret it. You'll get your life back. You'll get your friends back. You'll get your family back. You might even get your job back if you have a good enough relationship with your boss. But it changed my life forever, and I know it can change your life too, because I was going downhill fast, and as soon as I got on buprenorphine, it straightened my life back out, and I started going back uphill. And sir, that's really all I can say. I mean, in a quick summary, but I just want people to know that you're not alone. I've been where you're at. I've been through everything you've been through, but there is a way out, and buprenorphine is that way out. And I just beg everybody to take that chance.
Travis, you saw your blood levels. You had elevated catecholamines when you were in withdrawal. Those catecholamines normalized when you took a single dose of the buprenorphine. Travis,
yes, sir.
There are people out there now who they don't know what to do. They don't know what to think. They don't know if we're telling the truth or the psychiatrist and the addiction specialist are telling the truth. But Travis, you got to admit, the science doesn't lie. And
no.
Travis, let's just for the person out there that's listening, this is real, right, Travis? You were in withdrawal and your blood was drawn and you were given a buprenorphine and your blood was drawn again. That was real and that happened to you, right, Travis?
100% real. 100% without a shadow of a doubt. This is all real.
And
I need to interject something in here. I think it's so important, though, that people take the Smith test and see their damage to their DNA themselves. See the numbers.
I agree with that.
Make sure that they join the class action lawsuit. It is so important. We need to get reformation for all of you. This will help each one of you. Please All you need to do is to go to Smith Genetics Research and put $20 in on the test, and you can always make another payment as time goes on, and join that class action lawsuit. It is so important. You have to prove that you are not a drug addict. You have to prove that they are wrong, that they have labeled you and you're not to be labeled. You have damage to your DNA from a product that was put out on the market that ruined your DNA. That's all I have to say. I'm sorry, guys.
No, thank you, Dr. B. So, Dr. B, you've got about 3 minutes left. Okay. Any any points you wanna cover again, or any points you want us to go over again? You don't have much time, or anything that you'd like to hear from us today, Dr. B.
I would love to hear from anybody who wants to have the Smith test. They can call me anytime at 704-989-1167, and I'll answer their questions one at a time, or I'll answer their questions on the show or whatever. But I think the most important thing is that they need to take that Smith test and and prove to the world that they were wrong, that they poisoned you.
Well,
That's my big thing there, Doug. I'm sorry, but
Dr. B, if I'm not mistaken, we're back together tomorrow. Is that not correct?
yes, we are back together again tomorrow.
Travis, are you with us tomorrow?
Yes, I can be if you just give me a time.
12:30.
12:30.
Yeah, I can come back.
Dr. B, tomorrow could we today we talked about why treatment is so important, and the answer is because without it, your catecholamines will kill you. Tomorrow, can we talk about why doing the DNA test is so important?
Yes, definitely, because it is utmost in my mind that that needs to be done. That we have to prove it to the world that there has to be relief for these people. It's not fair what's happened to them without their knowledge, without their consent. Just go ahead and give them something and not even tell them anything's going to happen to them. Yes, they have been wronged, and they need to stand up for themselves. $20 is nothing in this world right now. $20 to go ahead and pay to start with the Smith test and have your DNA checked and then join the class action lawsuit.
Well, now, B, let's make sure everybody understands. $20 would be a first payment for the test. The test itself
Yes,
is quite expensive. The test itself is
that's right.
$600, and we're trying to do it so that people can pay it over time.
That's right. And some people have paid all at one time, and some people are paying $20 at a time, or $40 or $50 at a time. It depends on the person and the person's budget. But it's
Yep.
there and reachable, and that's what they need to do.
Six hundred
Well, then,
dollars to me is worth knowing the truth, and it's also worth to me it's worth being able to fight these people and join the class action lawsuit and really take these people down to get reparation for everybody, not just us
Travis,
that's struggling through the opioids, but everybody else that's lost their lives.
That's
Travis,
right.
did the DNA test change your life?
Yeah, it changed my whole perception of everything because I was told that I'm a drug addict. You know, this is my choice. You're making these decisions. Something's wrong with your brain. You have a mental problem, and you need to fix this. You have the power to fix this. And I was sitting here thinking, no, I don't. I do not have a choice. You guys don't understand. Like, there's no choice for me. I have to wake up every day and take these opioids. If not, I'm deadly sick. And they
Let's
were
pick
not
up on
listening
this.
to me.
Let's pick up on this tomorrow. This deserves some time.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
Well, thank you so much, Travis, for joining us and coming back
You're very
tomorrow.
welcome,
Thank
Miss
you,
Crystal.
Dr. Doug. We really appreciate the information today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today with Live Talk with Dr. B. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.
You have a good
Thank you,
day too.
Chris.
Thank you.
Bye bye, Chrissy.
Bye.